Have you ever stopped and thought, wait, how does a website actually work? Like, where does it come from? Stick around, because in the next 5 minutes you will understand exactly what's happening behind every website you have ever visited. First of all, what actually is a website? I can tell you it's not magic. A website is just a folder with files inside it. Three types of files do almost everything you see on the web. HTML is the structure. It tells the browser what elements exist on the page. CSS is the design. It adds colors, fonts and layout. And JavaScript makes it interactive. Buttons, animations, live updates. Okay, so now we know that a website is just a bunch of files. But here's the question. Where are those files actually sitting? Because they're definitely not on your computer. So where? They live on something called a server. Now, I know that word sounds technical, but honestly, it's simpler than you think. A server is just a computer, like the one you are using right now, except it's way more powerful, and it never turns off. It stays online 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, just waiting for someone to ask for its files. Companies like Google and Netflix don't just have one of these, they have thousands of them, all sitting in massive buildings called data centers, spread across the world. And every single time you open a website, what's actually happening is your computer is reaching out across the internet, finding the right server and saying, "Can I have those files?" Let's trace exactly what happens when you type google.com and press enter. Step 1. Your browser needs to find Google's server, but it doesn't know where it is. It doesn't know the address. It only has a name, google.com. So it asks something called DNS, the domain name system. Think of DNS like the internet's phone book. You give it a name and it gives you back an address. That address is called an IP address, and every server on the internet has a unique one. Step 2. Now your browser knows where to go. It sends an HTTP request to that IP address. HTTP is basically the language that browsers and servers use to communicate. Step 3. The server receives your request, finds the right files, and sends them back. Your browser now has the requested files, but it doesn't just show them all at once. It builds the page in layers. First of all, it reads the HTML and creates the structure of the page. Then it applies the CSS and adds all the visual design. And finally, it runs the JavaScript and makes everything interactive. This is why you sometimes see a website load with no style for a split second. The HTML loaded, but the CSS hadn't arrived yet. Let's recap everything. A website is made by files, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Those files live on a server, a computer that's always online. When you type a URL, DNS translates the name into an IP address. Your browser sends a request, the server sends back the files. And your browser builds the page. Structure first, then design, then interactivity. All of this happens in under 1 second. Now you know what's actually happening every time you open a website. If you learned something new, please make sure to subscribe to ArbiX Academy.